Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, everybody. Oh, I am in the dark. It's always something going on. There we go. Now we have light. Welcome again to another edition of Authentic Leadership 101. We appreciate you showing up tonight. We thank everybody that's tuning in, whether you're tuned in now, whether you're tuned in later, or whether you catch us on hashtag replay. We appreciate you coming through. Please let us know where you're tuning in from. Drop it down in the comment section so we can identify you, chat with you, and let us know what you think about the show. We've been doing the show a little while now. We want to see what you guys think about it. We've got some great people that have interacted, that we've done some different chats with them off the show, but we want to know what you guys think about the Authentic Leadership 101. And of course, me, I don't do it all by myself. I can't. I'm not the Batman and the Robin. I have to have a sidekick. Yes, and my sidekick today, as always, on the lovely Tracy Borreson. Hi, Tracy. How are you?
Holy knit one, pearl two, Batman.
Uh, yes, yes, yes. I always like to say that. I can.
I'll be Robin. That's fine. I'm
Yeah,
good.
yeah, yeah. I'm good. I just like the costume. I'm really a costume guy, so it really doesn't matter which one I put on. I actually probably got a better survival rate if I'm Robin. I don't think too many
Mm.
people come after me, so looking at it on that angle, it'd probably be a better thing, right?
It's probably true.
So,
I don't think anybody's
yeah,
going after Robin.
yes, I don't think we have to worry about Robin in any form of time. So what's going on with you there, Trace? We're talking about authentic leadership as a lifestyle, and we want to just cover that. We've covered that a little bit on the previous show. We talked about the lifestyle, and we brought that in, and we kind of felt that just with listening in to some of the comments and the follow up, we're trying to think that how can we present this as a lifestyle, because really that's what's the meshing and the marrying of the authentic is going to be, right? It's going to eventually be something that when people see that, they see you. So when they
Yeah.
see authenticity, they see you, and that represents that. So in order for us to really get to representation of that, I think, and you let me know if I'm wrong, Tracy. I think that it has to be a live process. I'm always one to think that living whatever you say gives credibility to what you do. So when people see you say one thing and then you do one thing, they're automatically believing that you're living that way. So if you want to be an authentic leader, I think it should be a part of your lifestyle. Now, with that being said, how do we really characterize these traits and what these visions are of these authentic leaders? Because there are some in place that are quote unquote claiming to be authentic leaders, and that's their lifestyle. But we know, right? We know, just between you and I, we know who's the real one and who's not, right? But we won't point fingers because that's not what we hear about, right? We're here to
No.
find out, is it a possibility, or even is it really doable to have authentic leadership as your lifestyle?
Well, and so first of all, I'd like to thank Dominique from
Yes, I'm
last week
sorry,
because she's
Dominique.
the one who
Thank you.
brought up the concept, and we thought that it would be fun to go a little bit deeper, specifically
Deeper.
in that arena. And here's why: is that last episode, we talked a lot about this concept of the image of a leader being separate from you. And
Yes.
so this fact that people don't self-identify as a leader, but they need to do X, Y, and Z, and then they will be a leader, or then they'll be a good leader, or then they'll be an authentic leader, or fill in the gap. Then they'll be something, but they aren't currently it today. And one of the things that Dominique brought up was that it's more about, like, I kind of incorporate it into my lifestyle. And that
Mhm.
is a key point, which is why we dedicated an entire episode to it. So thank you, Dominique. Because when you look at your life and you look at how you lead, they shouldn't look like two different people. They
Absolutely.
should look like the same person. So you're either faking it as a leader and faking it in your personal life, which, let's be honest, guys, is just like really a lot of work. And at the end of the day, not worth it at all. What a
No.
lot of people are doing right now is they're saving their authentic selves for home and their personal life,
Hmm.
and they're not bringing that to work with them because of past experiences, because of current work cultures, because of current definitions of what it looks like to be an authentic leader, in 100 different reasons. And so you have this break of who you're being at home and who you're being at work. And when we talk about this overarching concept of authentic leadership, it really is about erasing that line and saying that I am Tracy wherever I show up.
Wherever.
And that's why I wanted, and so I'd love you guys, as you're joining us live, to just come and maybe comment about how in your life, so right now, just for fun, for the fun of the game, let's split up work and life, right? So there's things that you do that are work, and there's things that you do that are life. What are some of the things you do in life that feel really, use the word authentic, you could use the word genuine, you could say real or truthful, or that you're in a state of flow, or you're vibing, or any of those things. What are some of the types of things that you're doing? And are you extrapolating those same types of things into your work? Because I'd love to have this conversation with you guys about whether that is true. Because right now, it's not bad. It's something that society has taught us over years and years and years, is that there's this line in the sand, and there's certain things that are appropriate for home, and there's certain things that are appropriate for work. And they're not the same list of things. Yeah. And like, granted, there are some things that aren't appropriate for work, right? Like, if you're going to go into the office, wear pants. Right? Like, that's just a societal norm we're not going to buck at this point, right? If you're at home on Zoom, you do you, man. No one can notice. But like, these are the types, like, that's not a thing, right? Like, whether or not you have to wear, let's not even just say pants, right? Let's say bottoms. We have to wear bottoms and a top when we go into the office. That's office protocol. Most protocols aren't stopping us from being who we are. You could choose a pair of pants that you like. I worked in a software company, and there were lots of people who wore leggings and sweatpants, and some people wore slippers for shoes in the office, right? Like, did those types of things, like, you probably have to wear some kind of clothing if you're going into the office. But even if you're on Zoom, you have to wear some kind, right? But I pick a shirt that I like and I feel comfortable in and feels Tracy to me, versus I pick something, again, a lot of times in corporate, where people will be like, oh, I need to wear a suit and a tie. Yeah. Or even for women, right? Like a suit and heels. And otherwise I don't look professional. We have to do a full episode on like what is and isn't professional, because that's a whole episode by itself. But anyway, there is still, this is what we're here to break down, you guys. These lines that we've drawn in the sand that maybe we aren't cognizant of yet. And then when we learn about them, we can say like, oh, hey, yeah, I totally do that. Why am I doing that? So Sharonda is saying that, and I think this is probably in response to my original question about some of the things that you do at work. Mm-hmm. Delegating, creating, and solving problems. I love that you shared solving problems.
Yes.
Sharonda, because this is a really great example. So we all solve problems in our life as well. Hello, Gabe.
Hey, Gabe.
Whether that's what we should eat for dinner, or my car had a flat tire and now I have to deal with that, or my son fell off the playground equipment and I have to take him to the hospital because he has a broken arm, right? There's lots of problem solving that we do at home. Mm-hmm. There's different types of problem solving that we do at work. But when you look at that, okay, well, like, how do I problem solve at home where I feel like really good about my solution? How did I feel creative? Did I feel stressed? Or did I feel like I had all the information? And then be able to compare that to how you feel when you're problem solving at work. Are there things that handcuff you at work? Like, some of the things that I experienced when I was a younger employee was that there was like really hard and fast rules about how to deal with customers, for example. So I was in the marketing department, but every once in a while you end up with a customer complaint, which the marketing department can do absolutely nothing about. So I don't know why anybody calls the marketing department for that, but you end up with that. And I always felt so bad because I couldn't help the customer. I was like not allowed to help them. I was not empowered. I didn't have the authority. I couldn't do anything. And that's not a good experience for anybody, right? Like, it wasn't a good experience for me. It wasn't a good experience for the customer. It really doesn't make sense. But sometimes we have those handcuffs. Again, especially depending on if you guys are watching or anybody watching the replay is earlier on in your career, we generally feel like, well, we're new. The other people know more. They've been in business for longer, so we'll just follow their instructions. But then you have those moments where you're just like, oh, that felt so bad. I would have done this if I would have been able to actually do that. And so it's spending some time getting familiar with these types of things. How do I problem solve at home where I feel really authentic to myself? And how do I problem solve at work? And am I being equally authentic? And some people are, right? Like, I'm not here to create problems that don't exist. Yeah. I'm here to encourage you guys to ask questions where there is resistance. So whenever you guys come up with like, yeah, I have to solve problems at work, but I just never really feel very good about the solution. Like, I feel like I have a solution, but maybe you feel like you didn't have enough time to get to the right solution. Maybe you felt like you didn't have enough time to gather information. Maybe you felt like, I know these were some times in my management career where I felt like, wow, we really should like ask the team before we make this decision. And people are like, nope, we're just going to do it. And like, even if we were just going to do it in the long run, which is fine. But then if we ask the team, we know their level of concern or questions or whatever before we just steamroll them with a change, which is kind of handy from a management perspective. So anyway, and I'm not just giving you guys tons and tons of examples, but this is the type of exercise, right? So Sharonda, since you were brave enough to post in the comments, I would love to hear from you in terms of like the problem solving that you do in your life. Might be both ways too, right? You might feel like able to like totally empowered decision make and problem solve at work and not be able to do that in your life because of your kids or your family or your relationships or whatever. It might be flip-flopped for people as well. The concept of authentic leadership, though, isn't a thing that just stays at work. It's something that influences the rest of your life. So again, it's about erasing the line in the sand to say like, oh, this set of skills lives at the office. Because that set of skills doesn't live at the office. It impacts your relationships with your spouse. It impacts your relationships with your kids. It impacts your relationships in your community if you're a community leader. It's about showing up as a leader and believing in yourself as a leader.
Yeah, and
Carl, do you have anything to add to all of the things I just said?
Yes. You gave me a lot of different segues to take there. When you think about the actual, and I appreciate Sharonda for adding it to that, because the delegating, creating, and solving problems are a lot of they are really the foundation of why you were hired. Why you were hired at a company. One of those things can kind of go hand in hand. And sometimes if you're a leader and you're an authentic leader, all of those things are part of what you need to be doing. The delegating, creating, and creating that effectiveness for you. But it goes so much as to say when it's a lifestyle, it should be a dynamic that is you. So like you were saying, you brought a good point in when you're at home or when you're in where you're in business. A lot of times we drop the skills. We drop the skills at the door. And I noticed a lot of times when you may be this, I don't want to necessarily say aggressive, but you may be this problem solver, creator, delegator in the office setting. And then when you're at home, it's a kind of like, okay, it's a digress of maybe those attributes that you're so strongly with in the workplace. But the dynamic of you being an authentic leader through a lifestyle, those same skill sets should turn and what I would like to say place in situations, because at that point in time you still have those skills. A lot of times we pick them up and put them down, or we let them operate here and we put them on vacation here, and that really kind of like against what we're calling this for the lifestyle, because even though you're not doing the same course of things from the job to home, they do marry because a lot of the things calls for the same thought process in the home as well as it does in the workplace. So when you carry it as a lifestyle, those things they engage themselves in the situation that you're in. So how abundantly authentic would that be if that's how you were forged all the time? Because I'm sure Sharonda or others that are listening or watching us, their parents. So creating, delegating, solving problems are definitely definitely traits for parents, correct? I mean, solving problems, I mean, especially if you have more than one child. You have to solve the problems. You have to create maybe schedules, cleaning lists, those kind of things. And of course, you're delegating who does what, who takes out the trash, who does the dishes, those kind of things. So when you look at that being as your part of your lifestyle, they carry over, and how effectively you do them is how authentic you are. And I think how authentic you are in doing them is how much people respect who you are when you're telling them what to do. I think that carries a lot of weight when it's a lifestyle and someone can point to it and say, "Oh, I know this is the way that he does things." I've been at places and others have came in and done my job, whether it was on vacation or just not there at work, and you've had other ones to pick up your load while you wasn't there. And the first thing I do when I come back or go back into the workplace, I often have people say, "Oh, so and so didn't do it like you do it. I like how you do it because you do because the reputation has been preceded there, and they know that I'm going to do it that correct way, and there's not going to be any other ways about it." And I think that's when you have a lifestyle that carries over where others automatically notice the authenticity in you leading and you having that as part of your lifestyle.
Well, and I think you addressed an important point there too, Carl Shawn, in that if you have these skills at work, you have those skills for your life. And so
Yes.
you don't have to use them, but you can. You have the ability to do that, right? And so this is another great place really to look at those questions, right? Like, okay, I'm like really strong at delegating when I'm at work, but I am not really strong at delegating when I'm at home. What is that all about, right? Because I will say, I talk to a lot of working moms, right? And something that is like very common for working moms is that they expect themselves to do the meal plan and the cooking and the cleaning, or at least they're responsible for making sure other people are going to come in and do that. And so we put that on ourselves and we don't delegate that because, you guys, this is going to sound crazy when I say it, but I would expect that there's so many people who actually are acting as if this is true, is that if I don't do all the things, my husband or wife or kids won't love me. And like, well, that's not true, right? Except we live it like it is. And so we know the importance of delegating at work. We know that we can only handle so much. We know that this is the process that has worked for us to be able to effectively delegate, but we don't transition that into our lives because we've added more meaning to what it means to do the tasks, right? Whereas we go to work, and especially if you guys are in management roles right now, we're expected to delegate, right? We're expected to delegate as a manager. When I go home and be a husband or a wife or a sister or whatever, a mom, I don't expect myself to delegate. So then I don't use those skills. And so when you look at this holistically, when you're looking at authenticity, let's even just take the leadership out of it for a moment. When you're looking at being an authentic person, it's about showing up and doing the things that feel right for you, that feel like a good reflection of you, minus the meaning that we have added. We have done that ourselves, individuals, all of us individually. We've all done it different times, right? So it just is, these are the things I'm all about probing you guys in terms of asking yourselves these personal questions, right? Because we don't think about it that deep. We think like, authentic leadership is about being a leader at work, or maybe even you're a community leader. And then you're like, well, that's about me being a leader in the church or at my community hall or whatever. It's not about me being a leader at home. But a true, authentic leader covers all of your territory.
Yeah, and I think this is where we Gabe put he said a real point, real good right here. So true, Carl. Trying to learn and develop as a leader and maintaining it as a lifestyle. It can at times be difficult, and I think we really put that difficult in our own selves. I don't think it's so much as far as the actions that we take, because we're understanding of what actions needs to be taken. But what we do is, like I said earlier, we situationalize it. Okay, at this point in place, I need to be this kind, or I maybe need to be assertive in the workplace, or I need to be that. But I don't think that we found the balance of where though they can coexist in all areas of our life, that we can use all of those and let them intertwine how they can be beneficial to benefiting us. Because when you look at leadership and you look at what that means, and you can even take the authentic part about, you can even take that out of it. If if you're just talking about leadership in general, we often categorize that to this great ultimate, right? Your leader, we just cap all of this on the top, but all of us are leaders within our own right, right? And what is that right? You're the leader in the position that you may be hired to perform, correct? I mean, you may report to someone. There may be direct reports. You know, it may be people that you have to, you know, go and deal with or report to. But in the essence, you're the leader of what you were assigned to do. So those characteristics are still continue. And even in the home, we are much more, I think, and this is just my perspective, I think we're much greater leaders in the home because of the simple fact of what we're cultivating there. We're cultivating family, we're cultivating young ones, we're forming ideas of what they will take out into the world to become citizens. So I think even on that level, we are greater, and those characteristics and that lifestyle should be greater at home, because you have those perennial minds watching you and looking at you and seeing how you be and seeing how you handle situations and seeing how you handle maybe stress or things that's not going well. And they take that as what they see out. And then what are you doing then? Are you actually harvesting the next group of authentic leaderships who will delve with and interact and be able to do things in a manner that will be okay for someone else to see? Or are you having someone at home where you're looking like you can't never handle anything, and then you'll carry that little individual that's been watching you ever since they grown up, and they'll go out into the world and they will be in the same boat, right? So when you look upon those things, yes, they are difficult, but I think we actually put that through because we don't actually live it. And that's where we get back to the lifestyle. We only do it when it's maybe not, I wouldn't even say when it fits us, but we only do it in places where we think it's needed instead of using it in all that we do so others could see it as our lifestyle. What you think about that, Tracy?
Oh, I have lots of things to think about this, because one of the things
We
I
often
always
give
have
each other
lots of
so
things
much
I
to
think.
think about, right?
Oh man, this is why we will have this show forever as long as you guys keep showing up.
Yes.
One of the things that I would ask you, Gabe, and again, for anybody who is using this type of language, so maintaining it as a lifestyle can be difficult.
Yes.
What feels difficult? What feels difficult about that? And if you're willing to share, I would love that, because this is a really great example. We all think, like, I have tried to remove from my vocabulary the word hard, right? Like, oh, this is too hard. It's just hard work, right? Like, because it doesn't make me feel good. It doesn't inspire me to do more. It makes me feel heavy. And so I try not to use it. And so the word difficult to me feels like it's being used in the same kind of way. Hi, Tara. In terms of when we think something is difficult, we find proof to prove that it's difficult. So that's why I ask, because if there's a specific thing that's making it feel difficult, then when we can identify that thing, we can work on that thing. And here's something that I would say is probably a contributing factor for those of you who do feel like you are more capable of being able to be an authentic leader at work than you are at home, and you're not able to like shift those skills into a full lifestyle, is at work also, it is generally well defined what people's expectations of you are. Right? And so I can say, like, oh, if someone hired me to be an authentic leader and they defined authentic leader as this, I can go in and I can check all the boxes. It's really clear for me to be able to execute on that. When I go home, who makes that? Who makes that checklist for what it looks like for me to be an authentic leader? I do. Except guess what I do? Not just I. This is what a whole bunch of people do.
In general,
we make we make our checklists about what it looks like for me to be an authentic leader in my life based on what we think someone else thinks.
Yes, and
you guys tell me how ridiculous that sounds.
No,
but it's true.
It's so true. It's so true. Yes, absolutely.
And so we do this, and it's pieced together by a bunch of feedback we've gotten from our parents over time, our communities, societal narrative in general. But it's not even one specific person who's made that. It's a whole bunch of people over your life who have helped you create this definition, but that definition doesn't include enough of you. We talk a lot about definitions on this show, right? And so there are ways right now, all of you, so we're talking about authentic leadership as a lifestyle, right? All of you sit there and think for just a moment, what would it look like to take my authentic leadership, and again, that's your definition of what authentic leadership is right now. Maybe it's what you've learned from this show in the past. Maybe it's something you've learned from like me and Carl Shawn as combination. Maybe it's a definition you created yourself. When you look at taking that authentic leadership and living it as a lifestyle and not leaving it at the office, what does that look like? How do you do that? Because I will tell you guys something. Only you know how to do that. So it's only difficult because we don't know how to measure ourselves against being authentic. And so much of work is based on measuring based off of things that are tangible, right? So it's based off of a KPI. Again, we'll do an entire different episode on KPIs because I have like more than an hour's worth of content I can talk about on that.
Yes, I know you love the KPI.
But we're really used to, hola, Dunya.
Hola,
we are used to being measured against tangible things, right? Like I needed to make 20 client calls today. I made 20 client calls today, right? Like those are tangible. Most of them don't mean anything, but they're tangible. We can measure against that. When it comes to being authentic, it is just about the feelings. And we're not, as a society, very good at leaning into our feelings. We're not very good at trying to understand, like, okay, I'm feeling anxious or stressed or overwhelmed or burnt out or fill in the blank of all of the things that the life coaches in the world are telling you that you are.
Yes.
Right? We're not good at leaning into those feelings to try and understand why am I feeling that? Why am I feeling sad? Why am I feeling emotional just in general? Why am I feeling frustrated? What is happening there? And those things that make us feel are the windows into our authenticity. I think a couple of episodes back, did I talk about emotions as traffic lights? I'm pretty sure I talked about that in one of the episodes.
I think you did. But if you want to give us the Cliff Notes version, that's always good.
I'll give you the Cliff Notes version. Okay, green emotions are the emotions we love to feel. We give ourselves the green light to keep going with those emotions. They're things like fun, joy, peace, calm, those types of things. Things where like, oh, these feel so good. I go, green light, keep feeling those things. Yellow light is those ones where you're like, I'm like kind of uncomfortable, but I don't know that it's bad, right? Like maybe it's because you're trying something new that you've never tried before. And there's like, it's yellow, right? Like, maybe I should stop, but maybe I should go. Like, and I think I said this in the first time, like we've all been, I'm sure any of you with a driver's license have raced through a yellow light at some point, right?
Yes.
We do that. So we still can go if we have yellow. If you have a red emotion, these are things like anger, sadness. I I put frustration into that category. These are things where we like, society has taught us we don't want to feel that, right? So we say, red light, stop feeling it. So these are how I use the traffic lights as an indicator for our emotions. But what happens is because we get this red light, we want to move on to feeling green, right? This is where toxic positivity and everything comes from, is that we're just like, oh, I should just stop feeling sad and be happy instead. Except that's not a thing. You can't just do that. You can do that if you do some examination of why you're feeling those feelings. So when you're feeling frustrated, why am I feeling frustrated? What is that? Quite often, it's because something is bumping up against one of your values. And if you guys have been hanging out for a while, you will know that values is a core pillar to being authentic, being able to live your values. And so something that's happening is you not living. What you're doing is not in alignment with something you believe, something that's important to you. And there you go. Carl Shawn's got them scrolling along the bottom.
See those pillars.
Right. And so not often, it's not super comfortable. It's not super comfortable to go in and like dig deep into your red emotions, right? It's not like the most fun activity. Although I will tell you, if you do that, you take that process and you like kind of chip, you kind of chip into like, oh, why am I feeling that? It almost immediately removes the emotional reaction that you have to it. Because now you're pondering and you're curious about what's going on instead of just feeling your emotions. And when you're curious, it often goes into like, oh yeah, I'm so frustrated about that because I remember, I think I used this example last time when I talked about the emotions and traffic lights too, but I saw this social media post once by another personal branding coach who said, nobody likes vanilla. And so then everybody was like, yeah, we love chocolate. We should be chocolate. And I was like, what about the people who don't identify as chocolate? What about the people who like being vanilla, right? Yeah. Like vanilla is my third favorite flavor.
It's a bad rap. I mean, come on, vanilla's good.
And chocolate's not in front of it, right? Like it's not bad to be vanilla. It's not bad to be butter pecan. It's not bad to be strawberry, chocolate, Neapolitan, pistachio. I don't know, throwing cookies and cream, Rocky Road. Now I'm getting hungry for ice cream.
Yeah,
but it's not bad to be any of those things. So as soon as I read that, I had an immediate like visceral response to like, oh no, that's so wrong. You're just everybody's going to think they should be chocolate, but then also everybody just thinks they should be the same thing, which is chocolate, which is crazy. And that's not the point of standing. Anyway, that was my response.
Breathe.
When I know, right? It got me very frustrated. But when I was looking at it, I was like, why does this make me so angry? Because I don't believe any other person should be told that their flavor. Yeah, see, Claire loves vanilla. No one else can tell you to be something else than you are. If you are vanilla, no one else should tell you you're chocolate and you should think they're right. And and you guys who know me would probably be able to tell that with a core value of authenticity, I would have a visceral reaction to that, right? So those are the types of things when you're like, oh, wow, that's like really speaking to my core values. So what if, let's extrapolate this for a minute. Now, what if you showed up, you wrote that post? So what if someone was coaching me? This is theoretical at this point, but someone was coaching me and they're like, you should do a post about how nobody likes vanilla and everybody should just be chocolate. And I have two options. I could do that, right? I could do that. I have the capability of typing a post and saying that. I think they were talking about being planned, but
I think that was I'm
sure it was.
Because sometimes we use the things within our grasp of understanding to make points, right? We can't make points.
But at the same time, like, let's imagine you're an introvert, right? We'd had an episode about introverts versus extroverts, right? There's a lot of people, and Claire, I'm sure you come across them as well. I'm sure everybody who's in the chat right now has come across these people who are just like, I don't have a story, right? Like, I'm just boring. That is actually not true. right?
Yeah.
They do. They just haven't tapped into what their story is yet. And like, you guys are getting an exact definition of like what my beliefs are. You guys might believe something different, and that's also fine, right? But I choose not to believe that if you are bland, if today you feel like you're bland, you shouldn't feel bad about that. If you want to be something different, if you want to add some oregano or sage or vanilla or chocolate to your recipe, you can. But there's nothing wrong with you today because you're bland, right? Yeah. And anyway, again, this is my reaction to it because this is how I interpreted the message. Lots of people were like, oh yeah, we should be this, we should have more flavor, right? Like, and like, yeah. And if you're vanilla and you like that flavor, be that flavor, right? Also fine.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people get it, and I'm alone. I look at it in like Claire as well. I look at it like that, and I also look at it and interpret it as who. First of all, who said it, who's the audience, and what they're trying to explain, right? So if you're looking at the totality of it, you say, yeah, of course, nobody loves vanilla. So now I'm saying that you're, I guess I wouldn't use hijacking, but now you're taking vanilla and you're making vanilla a topic of bland. Okay, what do we see with vanilla? Historically, we all look at vanilla as being plain, right? Which truly it is, it's plain. But when you look at it, there's so many attributes to vanilla that can enhance everything else. So they're looking at, I always see, always go deeper than than the top shelf. So when I'm looking at that, a lot of times when I go back to it, a lot of times people use what is in their realm of understanding to try to make you understand the point that they're trying to make you. In doing that, though, this is why I have to go to my vulnerability piece with that. You have to be aware of what you're talking, well, who you're talking to audience wise and who you're dealing with. And you made a great point where a lot of people say they don't have a story. I think when they say that, it's always in comparison to, because when you hear their story, it's not that they don't have a story. They think that their story does not encompass yours. So therefore, they take the back road and say, oh, I don't really have a story. Why? Because my story is not the 10 Commandments. It's not on movies. It's not on theater. You know what I mean? But it's still a part of my life, and it still is who I am. So I think a lot of times those things have to be enhanced to people. Just so you say you don't do the vanilla, or they said, well, don't be vanilla. The optics should have been, or probably were for most people. Not everybody thinks of that same, circle, but for most people, they're probably thinking, okay, well, don't be plain. But I also get where you're saying it, because I have a friend of mine that's a business coach, and I talk with him quite often, and he said he's very routine. He's very routine. He's very plain, and he likes it that way. He said that works better for him. He's saying everything that he does, he's plain, he's bland, and I think he's really kind of like made that his signature. So in essence of that, it's not a right or wrong way to do it. And it's not a right, because I agree with you. Sometimes I like being vanilla because I'm in a situation where someone else may be chocolate. And I don't want to be two chocolates, or not, even though I'm chocolate, I can't help it. But see, like us, we chocolate and vanilla, right? So there has to be some type of there has to be some complementary there in order for it to be a part of the lifestyle and a part of the leadership. Because if we have a bunch of chocolates, ironically, but that was the most common flavor. Claire's giving us a class on ice cream. Thanks, Claire. Vanilla is the most common flavor and favorite flavor in the world. Actually, I can definitely agree with that. A lot of people like chocolate just because they want to try something new and it catches their eye. It's really not what they like. It's what they see and what they think. Yes, however, maybe it was about how in good personal branding will turn the people off as much as you draw people in. And that's important too. All right.
Well, and I think we kind of took this like, I was just trying to give you guys an example of using your emotions.
Yeah. Tracy gave us a fine example. Please, whatever you do not.
Anyways, like when you're feeling a visceral response like that, ask yourself why, and it will probably lead you to one of your values, right? And I think it's. I love too that Claire pointed out like good personal branding. Again, I don't like using good or bad, but let's use authentic. Authentic personal branding will turn people off as much as draw people in. Yes. And I think this is a really important point to remember for everybody, because authenticity is not about everybody liking you all the time. I don't know if we have like people who enjoy The Office on this episode with us today, but Michael Scott, the like boss in The Office, his like number one job that he's given himself is be everybody's best friend. And he's mostly just an idiot, so nobody wants to be his friend, which is kind of sad because he does have a really strong personal brand. So this is why I love him. But like that's not what authentic leadership is about. Authentic leadership isn't about having everybody like you all the time, right? And an authentic lifestyle, authentic leadership that pulls into your life as well, isn't about everybody liking you all the time. It's not about being your kid's best friend when they're not going to do their homework and they need to do their homework, right? It's not about like telling some of your family members the way it is when like, dude, this is just like what you're doing over there. It's like not working for me, right? And that being authentic is about telling your truth, using your truth. What is true for you? What is it? I use this phrase a lot. What is a good reflection of you? What is an accurate reflection of you? Now I'm thinking of the movie Mulan, the animated. I don't know if they did it in the real life version, but in the animated movie, Disney's Mulan, she's like she's dressed up all as a geisha because she's supposed to get married, right? And she wants to be a warrior. And she's looking in the pond and she is like, when will my reflection show who I am inside? Because what she's looking at in the water isn't who she is. It's who she's dressed up to be. And authentic leadership, an authentic lifestyle is about taking that mask off and looking at that reflection and saying, this ties into our episode from last week, when you look in the mirror, that's a leader. When you show up to teach, today we are making ceiling fans with my son because he's a fan of fans. So we're making ceiling fans out of just like construction paper and popsicle sticks. But we're doing that. It's about showing up as a leader and doing that your way. And like holding the glue when you think you should hold the glue and giving him the glue when you think he should have the glue, right? It's about telling the people around you that you appreciate them because you appreciate them. Because that thought was just going through your head. Like, this is one of my favorite things to do is just when I have like a random thought about like an old high school friend or whatever, I just like message them. Because I'm like, I was just thinking about you. There's nothing else I have to say to that. But people are like, wow, there's somebody thinking about me today. And these are just like, not things that most people do. But it's just we're so bad at telling people that we appreciate them. Can we use that as our challenge today? Just like the next time you appreciate someone for something, just tell them that. It doesn't have to be like in a post on LinkedIn. It could be in a private message or a text message or in a phone call. Heaven forbid, we still make phone calls, right? It's like that's what being authentic as a lifestyle looks like. And as long as we have this line in the sand of what authentic at work is versus what authentic at life looks like, we're not really being authentic.
I think it's so much as what we covered last week as well. I think it's the image of, and I think our imagery of what things is often the perceivement of it often causes us to view things quite differently in different situations. And I think when you said it's hard, and Gabe had mentioned it earlier, how it's difficult to be a lifestyle because a lot of times we don't envision that as us, right? Because a lot of times we're looking at these leaders or whatever they may be, I don't like to bog down the titles with them, but whatever they may be in situations that you see them in, that image of what you see oftentimes is duplicated, whether subconsciously or not. That's what you see, so that's duplicated. Have you ever been in, I'm sure you have been in corporate settings or in work settings where someone has been there 20 years and this is how they're doing it, and one that they've trained is also now doing it that correct way. So, still doing it that way, I'm sorry. And then you're seeing that, and it's just being perpetrated. And I think that's what you mentioned is so good in the beginning of how we don't pull that at home because there is no clear alignment of what we vision. Because when we're growing up and we're in the home, how we do the separation is there are so many different inputs as to what we should be in the home. So the leadership really gets, and if especially if it's a dichotomy of maybe the woman is not the leader at home and she don't make a lot of the decisions. So of course there goes that part of it as well, where they may be the boss at the job, they may be the VP or what have you, but at home the husband is. So therefore they leave in that, and it's easy for them to transition that because now I'm at home and I don't have to live that lifestyle. I don't have to carry the work leader to the home leader. And I think that that may cause it. That may cause a lot of the disruption of the authenticity. That may also cause a lot of disruption of how we maintain it as a lifestyle and not put it on as we do clothing. Because we put on leadership a lot of times as we change clothes. Wherever situation we're in, we'll put on that leadership hat and we'll be there, whether it be the church, whether it be in the community, whether it be at home, or whether it be at work. We oftentimes change our styles to fit that. But those different avenues and those different arenas can also fit your one style
Mhm.
if you're the same within all of them. And you
Yeah.
just have to be able to understand what gets more, what I guess I used to say the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Which wheel needs to get greased in that, me, my old sayings, right? I get them from the old family. What grease, what wheel is screeching enough to get the grease so they can be put to test in that particular situation. So then it becomes a lifestyle of, okay, Carl's like this, Carl's like that, Tracy's like this, Claire's like this. This is how she is. Okay, I see these same things. I can kind of mirror that. Oh, okay, maybe it's not as strong here, but it's still the same thing. It's part of the filler. It's part of the pillars, correct? It's just living your
Yeah.
values. And if you're living your values in all situations, they will always shine.
Well, and I think there's this misconception that like being authentic all the time looks exactly the same,
Right.
right? Like me being authentic, going out and teaching the local kids to play baseball doesn't look the same as this
No.
conversation right now, right? Like, I'm not having this conversation with 13-year-old kids like, you guys, your personal
Yeah, yeah.
brand.
Suck it
Like,
up.
no. But there are things that influence the way that I coach because of who I am. And there are
Mhm.
certain things I say, right? Like when people are like, oh, I'll just never be as good as so-and-so. We're not supposed to be as good as so-and-so. You're supposed to be as good as you. And that's different than so-and-so. And
Yes.
like, not everybody would say that. Somebody with a core value of authenticity would, right? So it's not that you're going to have all this. It's not like I'm going to go to church and have this conversation and tell them about how I got so mad about this lady
Yes.
talking about chocolate. Although I'm not saying I'm not going to talk about that
I think
if
you
it
are.
comes up,
I think you are. I think you are.
right? But it's just it's not about being identical. Let's
Right.
say it that way. It's not about being carbon copy in all of these different places. Being authentic means that there's a different version of you that is going to show up, and that version is real. That
Yes.
version is a genuine reflection of who you are. Sometimes that might look really frustrated and aggressive, and sometimes it might look cryy and emotional, and sometimes it might look just like bonanza party, right? Like that doesn't mean I'm not the same. And I think you guys, when you have relationships with these types of people, and a lot of you guys now have known either me or Carl Shawn for a while, like it's
Mhm.
not that we show up exactly the same in every single thing that we do, or that we
No.
say the exact same things all the time. Although I do say authenticity a lot, and Carl Shawn does say vulnerability a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's just who we are. I think that it should be a part
Right.
of our names, actually.
Yeah, we should probably just make those our middle names. But it's not about being the same all the time.
Yes.
It's about being you all the time, and the way you show up in different arenas is
Mhm.
different. So you showing up as an authentic leader at home might not look the exact same way as you show up as an authentic leader at work, right? Like that doesn't mean that you come home and you You get mad at people for getting off schedule and you were late for this meeting, and like, well, it doesn't have to be that, right?
Yeah.
The definitions can be fluid. And quite honestly, this is the thing that makes it a challenge. It makes it a challenge because we don't have that hard, rigid guideline of what we're measuring ourselves against. And I want you guys to think about this just for a minute. What if the lifestyle that you had at home today, so we're taking out work for a second, everything that's not work related, I want you to think about all of those things, your web of all of the things that you touch. And what if you were showing up as an authentic leader today? What if the way you showed up earlier with your kids picking them up from school, or like, heck, let's bring work into this, the conversation that you had with your employee at work, or a coworker, or a podcast guest, or any of those people? What if that was the definition of authentic leader? What if the way you were already showing up was the definition of authentic leader? What if you didn't have to be anything different, do anything different than you're already doing to be considered an authentic leader? I want you guys to think about that, because here's what will happen. You'll either believe that that's true and be like, oh, hey, that totally was authentic leading today as a lifestyle. Or it'll help you identify where you think you're not. So what is it? I didn't think I showed up vulnerable enough, or I didn't say the truth when someone asked me how I was feeling today. Let's be honest. We don't all do that.
Yeah,
right?
I made a post about that not so long ago.
Yeah.
Always saying I'm fine.
And we just do that. It's not even, we don't even do it on purpose. We just do it because it's just a natural default response. But you can look at those things and be like, oh, well, yeah, someone asked me how I was today and I was totally not fine. And I said, fine. So the next time someone asks me if I'm fine, or asks me how I am, and I'm not fine, I'm going to tell them I'm not fine. And then what else happens? And you're like, well, what if it's my boss who's asking me if I'm not fine? I can't tell her that I'm not fine.
I'll tell them quicker.
Why not? Right? Like, I would say, as a manager, and to be fair, I have authenticity as a core value, so it's probably more important to me than a lot of other managers. But for me, it's like the most critical thing to know if my team was not fine.
Yeah.
I need to know, can I ask this of you today? Because let's be honest, most things are not urgent. I can ask it of you tomorrow if you're not fine today, right? Or I can find someone else to work on it, or maybe I can even work on it, right? Like, I don't know. But if you don't tell me the truth, then I can't use that information to make a good decision for everybody. So
you can't really, it really can't make that decision for everybody, because have you even made the psychological space for someone to feel like that?
Right.
That may be a hindrance as well, and that's all going back to being the kind of leader and the kind of lifestyle that people can envision seeing. Because a lot of people say you're fine. You're right. A lot of it is systematic. So used to saying I'm fine, and I've had, I don't know if it's good or bad thing, depending on how I felt that day. I've asked a few people that I know that they would say, I'm not fine. And here comes the floodgates. So a lot of times in opening that I give why they're not fine in maybe 13 different languages. But when you hear about that and you feel that the authentic leader put that space is there. So when you ask someone that, you'd be like, yeah, I'm not fine. And they can feel okay with telling you that. But I think with us not being authentic and us living a lifestyle of where someone actually visually sees it, I think this is really the important thing. I'm really just trying to make it, living in the values and consistently doing those values. I think we don't really understand the importance of that, how much living what you say really gets people to notice you. It really does. And it's effective. It truly is more effective than anything you can try to put on or any role you could try to play, because there's no change.
It lets people see you, see the real you, right?
With all four.
Yeah, Carlson and I both need all four eyes.
Eight.
chaos here with you guys today. But it's about, we have this innate need as humans to be seen. And what happens when you show up and you are not a good reflection of who you are and what you feel, you don't give yourself an opportunity to be seen. And I will tell you, I know like a lot of you guys are in either my network or Carl Shawn's network or joint networks. And at this point, this network on LinkedIn is super supportive, right? Like, I don't think, like, if Carl Shawn messaged me and was like, hope you're having a great weekend, and I'm like, actually, I'm having a terrible weekend because of blah, blah, blah. Like, I know I can tell him that because he's not going to judge me. I'm not going to judge me. That's the most important thing, right? Like, I'm not judging me for telling Carl Shawn the truth. I would do a few, like, there's a few of you are on here today that I would totally, if you ask me how I am and I am not fine, I will tell you that I'm not fine. And every single time I have done that, so here's the thing for me, guys. If you haven't noticed, my core value is authenticity. So if I don't tell people how I really am when they ask me, that is going against my core value. It makes me feel terrible. So however I'm feeling, it makes me feel double terrible because now I just lied, especially if I lied to somebody who's important to me. Right? Yeah. So if you're lying to somebody who's important to you, it weighs heavier on you than just saying like, you know what, I am dealing with this right now and I'm actually like not really okay. And I don't know where I'm at, but I'm not okay. Like I'm not fine, for sure not fine. And I even to the point where like I had a coffee chat a couple of weeks ago and I was like so grumpy that morning. It was first thing in the morning. And I went because I knew like I love to meet new people and I knew I would feel better after I had the coffee chat. But like at the end, she was like, oh my gosh, like I'm so glad that we met today. And I was like, you know, honestly, before this call, I was feeling like I just wanted to quit today. Like I was just going to like not show up today. And because I got to have this interaction with you, like totally brand new person, I feel like I am more capable of doing something awesome with my day. Yeah. You guys, what if someone told you that? Right? That's what was true for me. And it was not a detriment to my relationship building with that person. It was like a snakes and ladders. It wasn't a snake. It was a ladder. I got to jump like way up in my relationship with that person because I told them what was true. I didn't pretend that I was feeling great coming into this meeting and now I still feel great. No, I was feeling terrible and now I feel great. And you just turned my entire day around.
Yeah, because
that person may never have heard that before in their life. I don't know. They've probably done that for a lot of other people if they can do it for me. But how are we telling people? Getting it out of our body is part of authenticity.
And that probably made you feel. It probably made you feel better. But the space was there. The space was created, so you felt good with doing it, and that I think that is really. Responsibility that not all leaders, can't put that on all leaders, can't put everybody in the same boat, but there are a lot of leaders that don't make that possible. And without them making that possible, a lot of times people can't even be their own authentic self if they want to be. Because I've coached, I've talked to, I've had people with clients that have been on my program and they've been saying, well, I don't even have that ability to do that or be that at work. So with our last couple of minutes, that's what I close out. That's what I call the exit. How do we really put that into play when that space may be not there, where it's not the leader per se, but it's the individual that's reporting to the leader. So they're already authentic in how they live, but they can't, I guess, live in that. In their workplace.
Yeah, and so a couple things there. You might have a workplace that isn't the space, right? This conversation doesn't always end in a happy ending where you're successful converting a corporate culture to something you want it to be.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily that. I think what people forget though, we talk about leading by example a lot, right? Like leading by example is about us showing up and being that. right? It's about me probably knowing that my boss is going to just not care that I'm not fine. But if I can show up and say I'm not fine, there's a different feeling in you, right? This is what I'm talking about by that. When I lie about what's going on, it weighs heavier on me. And when I tell the truth, it weighs lighter. I don't have control over anybody else or what they're going to think or if they're going to judge me or any of those things. I don't have control over that. What I do have control over is what I tell people. And I'm not saying like be mean and abrasive and all of these things, but like, guys, I can't imagine one person that was in a leadership role who you would not want to do this in front of. But besides that one person, every single manager that I ever had, if there was something that was really going on and I told them that, they would have found some way to help me, whether that was giving me space on a deliverable or being able to set me up with somebody to talk to or reassigning some of my work or any of those things. I think about, so in my very first job, I was driving to work one day and I had a car accident and I had a head injury. And so I was not going to work that day. And so the first person I called was my dad to come and get me, take me to the hospital. And the second person I called was my boss to tell him I wasn't coming to work today. And he was like, why are you calling me? Right? Wow. Like even things like that, like I did that because I thought that was what was expected of me, but that was not what was expected of me, right? And again, I was a young employee. I think it was about 24 or 25 at the time. So I thought that was what was required and nobody cared. Everybody cared that I was okay. Now in that scenario, we're talking about physically okay. But there's a lot of, I still can't drive by that like road, that part of the road without being like, these are things, but people are more supportive of people than we give them credit. And so I encourage you to try it, right? We have the ability to help influence the psychological safety by us trying it. If we're brave enough to try in a space where we're not sure that that psychological safety exists yet. We have the power to influence that, even if we are not the like highest level manager or CEO or what have you. So like, you guys, you don't even know. A lot of CEOs, they got a lot of stuff going on too. They might be able to follow your example and be like, oh man, what if I could say that I'm not fine, right? You're giving that alone has created the space. And so it's about, there's nothing else I can say there except courage, bravery, because especially if you're the first person to ever do that in that space, it is going to be scary. And if you've never done it before, it's going to be scary too.
And you have to walk with it. It's something that, because I have a lot of people ask me a lot of times, how do you be so bold in doing that point? And it goes with anything else you do in life, practice it. And you have to take that first step into that. And the more and more you do it, just like anything, the more and more you learn your job, the more proficient you get at it, the more efficient you get at it, and the more you're able to share what you know about it to someone else. And that's the same thing. And that's the same way with it being a lifestyle. The more that you're showing, the more people see it, and probably, hopefully, more times than not, that they'll adopt that, and hopefully they'll pass that through. And I think this is the reason for why we're really doing authentic leadership. It's not so much as to give you a straight directive as to how you should be as a leader, but it's to give you some options, to give you some visuals, and to give you some information as to these kind of things that are available to you, even in whatever walk you're in or whatever category you may be in. And the leader is always there. Everyone's a leader. And it's the way that you apply it. It's the way that it's done. It's the way that it's put out. It's the way that it's received. It's the way that it's interact. But I think the important thing of what we try to really cover today, as far as the lifestyle of it, if you're living to those values and what we always talk about all the time, those 5 pillars, if you're living to those and you're true to those yourself, it's sort of like that inside, whatever's done inside is shining out. Others will see it. and others that gravitate to it. And if those that don't gravitate to it, they already doing you a favor because they're not a part of what you need to be.
Yeah.
So, hey, Kat, great conversation, guys. We're a little bit over an hour today, but you guys,
Yeah.
you kept it rolling. We appreciate everybody that has come. We gave you Tracy left you with that action step. Now, don't forget that. She left you with the action step. Try it. Courage. It's going to take that. It's going to take that. If you haven't done it before, it's going to take courage. If it's not in your, and I can just about tell you 99.9% is not in your work environment. So it's going to be hard to do. It's going to be hard to do. But I mean, it's piecemeal. You don't have to eat the whole meal every day. If you take chisel after chisel of it, the food, eventually you'll finish the meal. So I think you should take that advantage of it.
This is what it's about. And it's equally relevant for you guys who are entrepreneurs. If you have a work environment where you're like, put on a mask, go to work.
Yes.
Like, okay. Equally relevant. So you might not have the same type of environment to test it in, but you can test it on yourself, right? Like, wow, I just like really don't want to show up for this coffee chat today, right? Or whatever.
Yes. But
there's been days where I dealt with a loss over the summer, and there were some days where I was just like so heavily in my grief that like I couldn't. It would have been a terrible idea for me to have coffee chat with someone else, right? Like I'm not the company that I want to be today, and so I didn't. And every single person, I had to move client meetings a couple of times. I had to not show up for Your Business Peeps events, and 0 people had a problem with it. Everybody was supportive of it. And I think we just need to give the people more credit than we give them. And use that courage. And if you guys are looking for a space to practice that type of thing, that is what the Your Business Peeps community is for. And if you guys haven't been paying attention to my profile, so if you guys don't follow me, you probably saw it on Carl Shawn's today
my
too.
Profile,
but we have
and my Instagram and my Facebook. It is all plastered all over everything that I own. Yes.
The Permission to Do You Bonanza, which is starting on November 29th. And it is another great place for you to practice, to learn from me and Carl Shawn and 48 other experts and practice your skills. This is what the networking events as part of that event is for, so that we can practice. There's 10 different ones, so you can pick 1 or 2 or come to all 10 if you really want to practice.
Right? The whole thing. Get a lot of practice.
The general admission pass is $25, and not only does it give you access to all of the learning from the panels and all of those networking events, it also gives you access to the Your Business Peeps community for a month, so you can get a sneak peek into what goes on in there and see if that's a spot that you want to come and hang out in long term. So really, really great deal. If you are in the realm of like, oh yeah, I'd really love to take that courageous first step, we are here. We're here to take it with you.
Yes, and the links are in the chat. Also for the workshop that I will be doing on December the 8th. Going to talk about some vulnerability in business, and we're going to be talking about some vulnerability in branding also, and let you guys know that just can't put this branding together with a slap paint of color and call yourself a branding and a website. See how you get vulnerable, so you can really get authentic brand to brand. Yeah, you like how I did that, right? So it's in there. You don't want to miss it. I was about to say the website. The link is there for you to come for the general admission, what Tracy said and talked about. Please do come by, show support, get engaged. It's definitely going to be a place where you can practice. It's going to be a safe place where you can do that practicing, and feel free about getting in touch with some things that maybe you haven't been able to discuss or talk with about, or get involved with. We definitely want to make sure that you're there, and you definitely don't want to miss that workshop. And we also got the panel too. I didn't put the link up for that, but if you check my page, it's I made a post about it, and Tracy's has made a post about it as well. We got that panel as well that we're doing. I think that's on the 29th, correct?
And yes, the panel is on the morning of the 29th, North American time. And also, if you guys didn't check out last episode, we're also doing an Authentic Leadership Consortium as part of that event. So consortium, I know it sounds very fancy. on December 6th and December 16th at this same time. So
Yes.
instead of us being live on LinkedIn at that time, we will be live on Zoom. So you guys can come and show your faces and ask your questions and have
Yes, because we
conversations
want it to
live
be
with us.
interactive.
Yes, and that is also included in your general admission pass. So
Absolutely.
all the things. Come and check out all the things, or ask me or Carl Shawn questions about it, whether or not it will help you.
We got goodies. We keep the goodies. We thank every single one of you guys that came and continue to make this show such a great success it is. We could not, would not be able to do it without you. Of course, I couldn't do it without my co-partner, my partner in crime, and all things good and authentic.
I can't do. Street always does the opposite. It bungles me up.
The wonderful
As to you, Carl Shawn, I could not do this without you. So to know that.
Yes, the wonderful. We cannot do it without each other. So we figured that out. That's why we do it together. Right. Yeah. It doesn't take geniuses to figure that out. But we want you guys to come back and check us out for another episode on Monday, where we'll have another fresh topic for you, a fresh discussion. We appreciate, as I said, everyone that came down. I get to call the names. I forget anyone. So I love all you guys. I appreciate you guys for dropping down in the comments. Please come back for those who are checking this out on #replay. We will have it posted up in the replay. You'll be able to see it. Make sure that you put in the comments anything that resonated with you, anything that you want us to talk about or discuss, and we want to make sure that we cover that as well for you so we can have a continuous outstanding conversation. And don't get your tickets for the Bonanza. The link is in the comments, so go check on that. Check it out. See what's offering. See what fits with you. Yeah,
I'll never get it right.
Yeah, I never do too. I'm not that smart.
I even thought about it that time and still didn't get it right.
All right, guys, until next week, we thank you all so very much for coming out, and for me and for Tracy and Authentic Leadership 101. You guys have a great, I guess that's enough greats, evening.